Patricia Heaton's greatest challenge as an actress wasn't delivering jokes or reacting perfectly to the funny moments on set. What made things truly difficult for her was hiding something extremely personal and life-changing from almost 30 million viewers who tuned in every week to watch Everybody Loves Raymond. To keep this secret protected, she used props as shields and sometimes even asked for specific clothes that covered what she didn't want the camera to catch. There were moments when she felt forced to make up excuses, even lying about family vacations or health reasons, just to keep her private truth from being discovered. Only one co-star knew what she was struggling with behind the scenes, and even that took her a long time to admit. Carrying this secret demanded careful planning every day, from the moment she stepped into the studio to the moment she walked out. At times, the stress almost broke her health, leaving her exhausted, anxious, and unsure if she could keep going. What she kept hidden while the whole country watched her every Monday night would change the way anyone looks at the show once they know how much she carried quietly, all while smiling on screen. Patricia Heaton was born on March 4, 1958, in Bay Village, Ohio. She was the fourth of 5 children in a home where Catholic traditions influenced nearly everything. The way the family spoke, prayed, ate meals together, and even the way they handled arguments all followed the rhythm of their religion. Her father, Chuck Heaton, worked as a sports writer for the Plain Dealer, a job he loved, but one that didn't always provide enough money to keep up with hospital bills, groceries, school expenses, and the constant needs of a large family. Her mother, Patricia Heaton, stayed home raising the children. She tried to keep the house filled with peace through prayer, patience, and gentle strength, even on days when it felt impossible. They prayed the rosary every night, the soft sound filling the house like a steady heartbeat. But behind the closed doors, the stress of money and responsibility chipped away at the adults, and Patricia, even as a young child, could sense how thin the stability of their home really was. By the time she was 6, Patricia had already learned that life could feel shaky even when everyone tried their best to hold it together. Bills stacked up on the kitchen counter, arguments broke out when money ran short, and when there wasn't enough food for seconds, she stayed quiet and simply accepted it. She learned early how to carry fear without showing it, how to reassure her younger siblings even when she didn't know what would happen next. The house was always filled with the noise of so many people living under one roof, but beneath all the laughter and arguments, tension lingered like a shadow. Her oldest sister, Sharon, chose to become a nun, and suddenly the family began looking at Patricia as if she might follow the same path. She wasn't sure if she wanted that life, but she didn't know how to express it without disappointing the people around her. Her brother, Michael, who later followed in their father's footsteps at the newspaper, struggled with long-lasting health issues. His courage left a deep mark on Patricia's heart, and years later, when he passed away in 2022 at age 66, the loss shook her in a way she didn't expect. The grief brought back old memories she had tucked away long ago, memories of their childhood, their shared pain, their private bond. Even when they grew apart at different times in life, she had always looked up to him, and losing him reopened wounds she thought had healed. The family always relied on their faith to stay strong, but even with that, they never felt fully whole again after so many losses. When Patricia was 10, she discovered the first place that made her feel like she could breathe freely, the school auditorium. On stage, she wasn't just another child in a crowded house or the girl expected to be perfect. She wasn't carrying the weight of silence after arguments or trying to balance the expectations placed on her. Acting allowed her to become anyone she wanted, even if only for a short time. Her parents didn't discourage her interest in theater, but they didn't encourage it either. They were dealing with too many responsibilities, too much worry, too many financial struggles. Still, she kept performing because it gave her something she desperately needed, a sense of belonging and a place where her voice felt strong instead of small. But then came a moment that divided her life into a before and an after. In 1970, when Patricia was only 12 years old, her mother collapsed from a brain aneurysm and never came home. There was no chance to say goodbye, no time to prepare, and no explanation that made sense to a child. The house fell into a heavy silence, and everything changed overnight. Suddenly, Patricia had to grow up faster than anyone should at that age. Therapy wasn't something families talked about back then, so she handled her grief on her own. She helped take care of her younger brother, trying to comfort him through tears while hiding her own pain. She carried that loss deep inside, and it shaped everything she later became: how she loved, how she acted, how she handled fear and disappointment. The suddenness of her mother's passing taught her that life could change without warning, and that truth stayed with her forever. As time passed, Patricia found herself rebelling in quiet ways. She hid theater scripts under her bed so her father wouldn't worry that acting was distracting her from school or faith. She sneaked out to audition for community plays, hoping no one would notice she was gone for a few hours. She questioned God about why her mother had been taken, and the guilt of those questions weighed on her. But she couldn't help it. Acting gave her a way to express feelings she had no words for at home. It allowed her to ask questions freely, to explore difficult emotions without being judged. Each performance became a form of release, a way to turn her pain into something meaningful. She wasn't trying to escape her past, she was learning how to turn it into something she could use. In 1976, she enrolled at Ohio State University and majored in theater. She commuted from home to save money, never feeling fully secure about finances. Even as a teenager, she held on to every dollar, always worried that something unexpected might happen again. At 19, she directed a student production of Our Town. It wasn't a perfect show, but it was sincere, emotional, and heartfelt. People talked about it on campus for days. Some students cried during the final act. Professors began to recognize her name. For the first time, she felt proof that she wasn't just imagining her talent, other people could see it too. By her senior year, she joined Delta Gamma and continued balancing schoolwork, sorority life, and part-time jobs. She worked long shifts at night, rehearsed until her voice was tired, and still managed to keep up academically. College wasn't easy, but it helped build her resilience. Still, not everyone believed in her. One professor told her she was too emotional to be a serious actress, a comment that pierced her confidence. She considered switching majors, maybe even quitting. But she pushed herself instead. She worked extra shifts to pay for improved classes, sometimes going straight from work to evening rehearsals with barely any rest. Those nights taught her how to perform even when she was exhausted, how to push through rejection without letting it define her. She learned how to be funny without letting her pain weaken her. These lessons would become essential later in her career. In 1979, she joined a bold, unusual version of Hamlet where women played the male roles and the script was changed to challenge traditional ideas about Shakespeare. The production was loud, experimental, emotional, and completely different from anything she had done before. Some people hated it. Students protested. Professors criticized it. Others loved it because it dared to break the rules. The shows kept selling out, and Patricia stood her ground despite the controversy. That experience taught her that art doesn't exist just to make people comfortable. It can challenge them, surprise them, and make them think. She felt stronger than ever and more certain that she wasn't meant to play things safe. When she graduated in 1980, she expected to feel joy and relief. Instead, her world shifted again when her father remarried almost immediately. Old wounds reopened, painful arguments resurfaced, and the family divided in ways she hadn't expected. Feeling overwhelmed, Patricia poured her emotions into writing a one-woman show about grief and separation. Performing it felt like confessing secrets she had held close for years. The audience sat silently, absorbing every word, and the show earned her a local drama award. It gave her hope that her personal story had meaning, that her pain could connect her to people rather than isolating her. Later that year, she moved to New York City with very little money. She slept on relatives' couches, lived off cheap meals like ramen and sandwiches, and gave herself a daily budget of just $5. She went to auditions constantly, sometimes several in one day, only to hear rejection after rejection. She worked as a waitress, then as a magazine copy editor, juggling jobs just to survive. Even when things felt hopeless, she kept pushing, determined to build the life she dreamed of. Patricia Heaton kept smiling even during moments when she felt like she was falling apart inside. She dealt with panic attacks quietly, often holding back tears during long subway rides across New York. The memory of her mother's death still lived inside her like a shadow she couldn't escape, and the fast, demanding pace of New York City gave her no space to sit still and process her grief. She wanted badly to become an actress, But there were days when she wondered if she even had the right to dream that big. The city was filled with talented people, and she often felt like she was fighting just to stay afloat while everything inside her felt fragile. When she turned 22, she landed her first off-Broadway role in Woody Allen's comedy Don't Drink the Water. At first, she thought this would be her breakthrough moment, the chance to finally step into the world she had been chasing since childhood. But things started to fall apart quickly. The director constantly changed her lines and shifted the tone of her character in ways that made no sense. What started as excitement slowly turned into frustration. She felt like she was losing control of her performance, and she didn't know how to fix it. Finally, she made a decision that surprised everyone. She quit the show. Fellow actors whispered that she was difficult, that she didn't know how to take direction, that throwing away her first real opportunity was career suicide. But deep down, she knew she did the right thing. If she let people reshape her work now, it would become a lifelong habit. She wanted a career she could respect, not one built on fear or silence. Walking away hurt, but it also strengthened her. After quitting, she faced a long stretch of auditions that led nowhere. More than 20 different casting calls ended with rejections. People told her she was too funny to be taken seriously, yet not funny enough to be trusted in larger comedic roles. She felt stuck in a place where no one knew how to categorize her. In 1989, she finally booked a tiny part on the show Alien Nation. She played an informant and earned $500. It wasn't much, but at that time it felt like a lifeline. $500 meant groceries without fear, rent without panic, and a moment of breathing room after months of constant uncertainty. Even though the role placed her in the funny sidekick box she was trying to escape, she took it because survival mattered more than pride. That same year, she earned a recurring role on the show 30-something. Between 1989 and 1991, she appeared in 12 episodes, becoming a familiar face for viewers. But behind the scenes, the work was draining. Some days lasted 16 hours. Calls came in at midnight, and she often rushed to set without eating properly. The pressure pushed her deeper into her eating disorder, something she kept hidden from almost everyone. She worked through exhaustion, pushing herself long after her body begged her to stop. The show helped build her career, but it left invisible bruises she carried quietly. One of her hardest disappointments actually happened earlier, in 1988, right before she joined 30-something. She auditioned for the role of Jackie on the hit series Roseanne. She poured everything she had into the audition. She wanted it so badly she could practically see her life changing if she got it. But the part went to Laurie Metcalf instead. When Patricia heard the news, she spiraled emotionally. She cried for days, questioned her worth, and wondered if she was fooling herself by staying in New York. She even imagined packing up and moving back to Ohio, becoming a drama teacher, and leaving the painful world of auditions behind. It was the kind of rejection that doesn't just sting, it lingers for years and resurfaced in her mind during every future moment of doubt. In 1992, she joined the cast of Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Chevy Chase constantly improvised on set, throwing off the script and disrupting scenes. Instead of staying silent, Patricia stood up for herself and asked for rewrites so her character wouldn't disappear in the chaos. Speaking up scared her, because she knew it could cost her the job. Some people on set whispered that she was pushy or demanding. A few even suggested replacing her. But she refused to shrink herself just to stay in the background. In the end, she remained in the film. The reviews were mixed, but critics noticed her performance, and that small bit of recognition started to shift her career in a new direction. That same year, she took a voice acting role in the animated movie Beethoven. It was a small job with a small paycheck, but it arrived when she desperately needed stability. Voice acting became an unexpected lifeline. She accepted every opportunity she could, knowing that each gig helped her stay afloat between bigger roles. They weren't glamorous jobs, and most viewers never knew she was behind certain characters, but those roles helped her survive long enough to keep chasing her dreams. Years earlier, in 1984, she had tried to break into Broadway with the musical The Higher They Fly. She had hoped it would establish her on the New York stage. Instead, it closed after only 3 weeks. She ended up $10,000 in debt, feeling embarrassed and defeated. She took a job as a tour guide and spent her evenings writing a private memoir about her mother just to cope with the emotional weight she still carried. It was a painful period, but also one that taught her resilience. Every failure reminded her that if she kept going, there might still be a way forward. Patricia's first major break came in 1992 when she won the lead role in a Fox sitcom called Room for Two. She played a television producer named Kim, a character whose experiences weren't far from Patricia's own hectic life. The show aired on August 31, 1992, and ran until May 19, 1993, producing 26 episodes. Patricia gave the role everything she had, hoping this would finally prove to Hollywood that she belonged. But the ratings never took off. The final episode pulled in only about 10.2 million viewers, which wasn't anywhere near enough during an era when primetime giants like Cheers and Home Improvement dominated the television world. The cancellation hit her hard. She was 35 years old, older than many actresses trying to break through, and she had just experienced her first major professional disappointment on a national scale. Critics weren't gentle either. They called the show unoriginal and claimed the chemistry between characters felt forced. Reading those reviews felt like a punch to the stomach. The cancellation came suddenly, leaving her without work, without direction, and with a heavy sense of failure that sat on her shoulders for months. But instead of giving up, she made a quiet decision. She promised herself she would no longer take roles just to survive. She wanted to challenge herself, to find characters with depth and complexity, and to stop hiding the full range of her abilities. In early 1994, she tried again with a show called Someone Like Me. She played Jane Farmer, a stressed and overwhelmed mom trying to juggle home, parenting, and work. The character felt close to her heart, almost like a reflection of her own struggles. The show premiered on January 5 and ended on May 19 of the same year. Only 25 episodes aired. Even though the show averaged around 10.8 million viewers, the network decided it wasn't strong enough to keep. Once again, she felt the crushing disappointment of a cancelled show. It was another reminder that in Hollywood, stability came and went like the weather, never predictable and never guaranteed. But each setback taught her something: how to stand up for herself, how to keep moving forward, and how to believe in her talent even when the world seemed ready to overlook her. Every no pushed her toward the path that would eventually lead her to the role that changed everything: Deborah Barone on Everybody Loves Raymond. Every challenge pushed her to grow into the woman who learned how to survive heartbreak, exhaustion, rejection, and uncertainty without losing the spark that started her journey in the first place. Patricia Heaton carried herself with grace and strength, even when the world around her felt overwhelming. She smiled through panic attacks and tried not to cry on crowded New York subways, quietly holding on to the memory of her mother, whose death still haunted her. The city moved at an unforgiving pace, leaving little room to process grief or exhaustion. Acting was her dream, yet there were moments when she questioned if she was even allowed to hope for it. Life in New York was brutal for young actors, competition was fierce, opportunities scarce, and survival often felt like an impossible balancing act. She was 22 when she landed her first off-Broadway role in Woody Allen's comedy Don't Drink the Water. It should have been her big break, the first step toward a career she had been building in secret for years, but things quickly went awry. The director constantly rewrote her lines, changing the meaning of her character in ways that left her confused and frustrated. Instead of compromising her performance, she made a bold decision: she walked away. She quit. Some called her difficult, stubborn, even foolish, but Patricia knew that allowing others to control her work would set a dangerous precedent. She wasn't chasing fame, she was building a career she could respect. That moment became a turning point, one that taught her the importance of staying true to herself, no matter the pressure. Even after that, the journey remained grueling. 20 or more auditions passed with no success, leaving her questioning her talent and her place in the industry. People told her she was too funny to be taken seriously, yet not funny enough for prominent comedic roles. In 1989, she landed a tiny part on Alien Nation as an informant, earning just $500. It wasn't glamorous, but it was enough to pay the bills and keep her dreams alive. The role typecast her as the comic sidekick, yet she accepted it because survival mattered. That same year, she secured a recurring role on the television series 30-something, appearing in 12 episodes between 1989 and 1991. Though it provided more exposure, it came at a steep personal cost. Workdays stretched to 16 hours, calls came late at night, and her eating disorder worsened as she struggled to keep up. She never spoke about it, quietly enduring the strain while keeping up appearances. Before that, in 1988, she had auditioned for the iconic role of Jackie on Roseanne. She gave it everything, imagining the change it could bring to her career. But the role went to Laurie Metcalf, leaving Patricia devastated. She considered giving up acting entirely, even thinking about returning to Ohio to become a drama teacher. The disappointment stayed with her, a shadow she carried through every future audition. In 1992, she joined Memoirs of an Invisible Man, a film where Chevy Chase improvised constantly, often disrupting the flow of the script. Patricia spoke up, asking for rewrites to protect her role. Some on set labeled her pushy, but she refused to shrink herself into the background. That small assertion made her stand out, earning recognition from critics and opening doors to more opportunities. She also took on voice acting in the animated movie Beethoven, a minor role that helped her survive financially and creatively during lean times. Each small part became a stepping stone, keeping her afloat while she waited for bigger chances. Her first attempt at Broadway, The Higher They Fly in 1984, ended after only 3 weeks, leaving her $10,000 in debt. She worked as a tour guide and wrote a private memoir about her mother to cope. Those experiences taught her resilience, showing her that every closed door could be a lesson in perseverance. Finally, in 1992, she got her first major television break in Room for Two, a Fox sitcom where she played Kim, a television producer. Though Patricia poured herself into the role, the show failed to capture viewers' attention, averaging just over 10 million per episode. Competing against powerhouse series like Cheers and Home Improvement, the show's weak ratings and poor reviews hit her hard. It was her first major national rejection at age 35, a moment that could have discouraged many. But Patricia used it as motivation, deciding she would no longer settle for roles that didn't challenge her or show her full abilities. In 1994, she tried again with Someone Like Me, a sitcom based loosely on her own life as a busy mom. She played Jane Farmer, balancing home and work. Even though the show averaged 10.8 million viewers, it lasted only 25 episodes before the network cancelled it. Again, Patricia faced disappointment, but she learned how to navigate failure while remaining focused on her goals. The mid-1990s were filled with trials and lessons that shaped her future success. Ratings for her projects dipped, schedules were grueling, and the emotional toll of repeated short-lived shows forced her to seek therapy, a rare step for actresses at the time. It was during these difficult years that she began asking herself whether she was chasing fame or pursuing meaningful work. In 1995, she joined Women of the House, a spin-off of Designing Women. She played Natalie Hollingsworth, a key supporting character, but the show faltered quickly, airing only 10 episodes before she walked away mid-season. She publicly criticized the sexist writing, a bold move at the time, but it marked a turning point. Patricia was no longer willing to settle for shallow roles. She wanted stories that respected women. Amid these setbacks, theater became a sanctuary. In 1994, she took the lead in an off-Broadway production of Shakespeare's The Merry Wives of Windsor. She improvised during weak scenes, turning dull moments into laughs, and critics noticed her timing and ability to bring life to the material. While it didn't earn her a Tony nomination, it gained her respect in theater circles and reinforced her belief in her talent. In 1996, she pitched a faith-based show to CBS, a family-friendly series inspired by her Christian beliefs. CBS rejected it, labeling it too preachy. The rejection stung because it felt personal, a reminder that the industry often dismissed stories grounded in values. That moment later guided her choices in faith-driven projects for networks like Hallmark. Her personal life was equally complex during this period. In the late 1980s, she met British director David Hunt during a stage production in the UK. They began dating quietly, aware that agents and managers often frowned on public relationships. They married in 1990, but waited until 1999 to make it public. Their marriage remained private, yet steady, providing Patricia with a foundation as her career grew. By 1993, She gave birth to her first son, Samuel, during pilot season for Everybody Loves Raymond. She told producers she was taking a family vacation to avoid disrupting the process. This pattern of privacy continued throughout her career, protecting personal milestones from public scrutiny. In 1995, she had her second son, John, while preparing for the show's pilot. Long shooting days meant she had to pump milk secretly between takes, often feeling isolated. Despite the challenges, the show premiered in September 1996, and Patricia landed the role of Deborah Barone after competing with over 200 actresses. She channeled memories of her mother and her own childhood pain into the role, bringing authenticity to the character that resonated with audiences. Everybody Loves Raymond became an instant hit, running for 9 seasons. Her starting pay was $150,000 per episode, eventually rising to $300,000 per episode, making her one of the highest-paid actresses on television. Her experience struggling in New York theater taught her how to negotiate fairly, turning persistence into quiet power. Earlier marriages had shaped her perspective on relationships. Her 1984 marriage to Konstantin Yanklu lasted only 3 years. Differences in religion and life goals highlighted the importance of compatibility, preparing her to approach her marriage with David Hunt with caution and intention. During Raymond, she had 2 more children, Joseph in 1997 and Daniel in 2001. Productions worked around her pregnancies using costumes, props, and camera angles, allowing her to hide her growing belly while delivering emotionally intense performances. Episodes like The Letter tested her endurance as she performed through morning sickness and physical discomfort. She confided in only a few colleagues, such as Brad Garrett, fostering deeper bonds within the cast. In 1999, Patricia received her first Emmy nomination and went on to win in 2000 and 2001. She maintained her privacy, wearing a corset post-birth to conceal her postpartum body for the cameras. Behind the scenes, she clashed with writers over her character's depth, planting seeds for future advocacy in producing and creating more meaningful roles for women. Postpartum depression affected her during the show's later seasons, yet she continued to perform, balancing personal struggles with professional demands. By the end of Raymond in 2005, she had completed 210 episodes and amassed a net worth of nearly $12 million. Despite success, Hollywood typecast her as a sitcom mom, rejecting her for dramatic roles and dismissing her range. In 2009, she starred as Frankie Heck in The Middle, another maternal role, this time reflecting her real-life experiences more closely. Over 9 years and 215 episodes, she incorporated elements of her own family life into the character while keeping personal challenges, like pregnancies, private. Her salary rose to $225,000 per episode before being reduced in 2014 due to budget cuts. She publicly addressed gender-based pay disparities on social media, receiving widespread support and sparking conversations about fairness for working mothers in Hollywood. Between 2015 and 2016, she hosted Patricia Heaton parties on Food Network, earning a Daytime Emmy in 2016. She continued acting through voice work on shows like Strong Medicine and Carol's Second Act, exploring roles beyond the mom stereotype. Patricia also founded the non-profit Hollywood Etc. in 2011, fighting anti-Semitism, while openly expressing conservative and pro-life views, which sometimes caused tension with peers. She balanced her public persona with private commitments, supporting family members through personal setbacks while shielding them from media scrutiny. In 2020, she embraced her natural gray hair as a symbol of post-fame freedom, rejecting previous pressures to hide age and motherhood. She continued acting in projects like Carol's Second Act, earning a Screen Actors Guild nomination, and took on producing roles that reflected personal experiences, such as family dynamics and Catholic healing. Her achievements include 2 Emmy wins, a Hollywood Walk of Fame star in 2012, and recognition for portraying real motherhood with authenticity and courage. She publicly declined a Raymond reboot in 2025, instead planning a docuseries, Something Raw, honest about working moms juggling silence and sacrifice, focusing on untold maternal struggles. In the same year, she published an op-ed about fertility and late-age motherhood, sharing her experiences with her 3rd child born via fertility treatment, advocating for awareness and policy support. Patricia Heaton transformed her career and life by embracing authenticity, resilience, and advocacy, becoming a voice for working mothers everywhere, balancing strength, vulnerability, and determination.